And we are live. I sure hope Ilhan Omar is sitting down today because, boy, oh boy, the President of the United States had quite a message for her. And new evidence is coming out that some reports say confirms what we've all feared about that marriage between her and, a guy that some believe might be her brother. Okay, there. I said it. Wow. Good to have you here, everyone. Merry Christmas. We've got the tree and everything. Getting in the spirit, in the season, shall we say. I got a Christmas concert to go to tonight. I welcome you to the program. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, all of that good stuff. And the big question on everyone's mind is, are these rumors true? And according to a new report, and the President of the United States, indeed they are. The rumors happen to be what the Daily Mail has been reporting. Exclusive. Ilhan Omar did, D-I-D in capital letters, marry her brother and said she would, quote, do what she had to do to get him papers to keep him in the U.S. This is according to somebody that the Daily Mail spoke to in the Somali community, one would presume out in Minnesota being ground zero for the largest government welfare fraud in the history of this nation, at least $1 billion, some estimates as high as $8 billion. Thank you very much. I got to tell you, this is pretty bizarre. Let me go first to the President of the United States, who was not mincing words. He usually does not. And he made it very clear. Not only does he not want Ilhan, he doesn't want anybody that would engage in this kind of behavior in the country. Here we go.
I want to see people that contribute. I don't want to see Somalia. I don't want to see a woman that, marries her brother to get in and then becomes a congressman, does nothing but complain. All she does is complain, and yet her country's a mess. It's one of the worst in the world. Let her go back, fix up her own country. Somalia, yeah, and I was right about it. I started complaining about Somalia long before the scandal. The horrible things they're doing to Minnesota, it's incredible. They have an incompetent governor there, too. The Democrats are running some bad ships.
Woo! Yeah, they are. I mean, they got Jasmine Crockett. We're going to get to that in a second. They are definitely running some bad folks. Well, let me go back to this story that Daily Mail has that says she did, in fact, marry her brother. Now, this is not independently confirmed by me. This is reporting from the Daily Mail's. Ilhan Omar is a public figure as a member of Congress and therefore fair game. They have gone out and confirmed this, apparently with somebody within the Somali community there in Minneapolis. One of the people that had been close to Ilhan Omar and her family is alleging, saying that he knows for a fact that Omar and Ahmed Elmi, remember that name, scandalized the community in Minneapolis. He apparently is the first person to go on record. I should point out that the FBI is actually looking into this as well. So this is gaining some momentum, and you get the President of the United States saying it's true. So Daily Mail saying it's true. The FBI, according to the New York Post, is looking into it. So we don't have that information yet, but apparently if you listen to what has been reported here in the Daily Mail, Mr. Elmi and Ms. Omar scandalized, as I said, the community there in Minneapolis. And this gentleman that goes by Osman, Mr. Osman, is the first to go on record reporting this. So, oh boy, right? Like, oh boy. So what's the penalty for that one? There are some penalties, but let's go through what we know according to the Daily Mail. Ilhan Omar, they write, did marry her brother and that she would, quote, do what she had to do to get him the papers to be in the U.S. I got to tell you, like, if this is all proven out, I don't even know what to say to this woman. I think it comes with a $250,000 penalty and 5 years in jail, but you know that Donald Trump is going to be chomping at the bit to revoke her citizenship under the circumstances. Because, by the way, there's some other weird things that have been going on. Just think about the state of Minnesota right now, where they just kind of looked away despite billions of dollars being stolen from U.S. taxpayers. Lovely. You know what's really fascinating? She's the one that introduced the bill that armed feeding our nation, feeding our future, forgive me, with the millions and millions of dollars, billions, that they would go on to then steal. I mean, they've got lots of convictions, and the majority are all coming from the 5th District of Minnesota. So that doesn't really look very good, shall we say, for Minnesota, for the Somalian community, or for one Ilhan Omar. Just saying. Okay, so back to the marriage here. According to the story, it had long been rumored that Omar and Elmi were siblings, but because of a lack of paperwork that they had in war-torn Somalia, proof has never been uncovered. Can I ask a question, guys? In all seriousness, how the heck do you get to this country when you have no paperwork about who you are to begin with? Okay, you're coming from a war-torn area. I get it. We take in refugees, blah, blah, blah. But you got no paperwork whatsoever. We don't know who your family is. We take you in. And apparently, according to the guy that lives in Minneapolis and is close to the Somalian community and used to be her friend, clearly he's not now, she married a brother? So according to Mr. Osman, she said she needed to get papers for her brother to go to school. We all thought that she was just getting papers to allow him to stay in the country. But nope, apparently they got married, according to him. She then became the second husband of one Ilhan Omar in 2009 and was married by a Christian minister. Like, that one threw me for a loop. A Christian minister marries Ilhan Omar and this other guy, even though they're Muslim. This other guy believed to be Elmi, her brother. So she had first gotten married to the first guy, Hersey. I guess he's the father of her kids in 2002 in a Muslim ceremony before they split in 2008. But then she had another child with him while she was, get this, legally married to Mr. Elmi, believed to be her brother. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. How the heck did this woman become a member of Congress? I'd like to know, how the heck did this woman get into the country without any kind of proper paperwork, letting us know who the brother was in the first place? Osman said, when Hersey and Ilhan got married, a lot of people were invited. It was a big Islamic wedding, uniting two large clans in the community. But when she married Elmi, guess what? No one showed up. No one even knew about it. She went out and got a Christian minister, for goodness sakes. And there was no notice about the wedding until the media turned up with the certificate years later. I was looking at the certificate earlier. Let me see if I have that for you guys. I mean, boy, oh boy, I don't think we have it handy, but I was looking at the birth certificate, forgive me, the marriage certificate, and I'll just say that we got to do a little bit more vetting, okay? We got to do a little more vetting. So this is the guy believed to be her brother. This was the second husband. She's still having kids with the first one while married to this one. How do you like that? And the allegation is that he is, in fact, her brother. And Donald Trump rather unceremoniously exposed this in an interview with Politico that you just saw. So this is really concerning. It would suggest that she came here or brought him here under false pretenses. And I guess if she did that, then that would be illegal. And therefore she would be, one would think, vulnerable to prosecution there. If you go back to 1997, that is when Ms. Omar and her family first arrived in Minnesota because they were getting out of the war zone that was Somalia. In 2002, she married this Hersey guy in a religious ceremony. It was a big deal in the community. As you heard Mr. Osman say, did I say that right? Yes, Osman say, they were uniting two families. And then apparently Omar went and married this other guy in Minnesota in a Christian ceremony in 2009. And he enrolled at North Dakota State University to study fine art. He did live with Omar at that time. By 2011, however, they split. And he went back to the UK. This is all really bizarre. So apparently she wanted to get him an education of some sort, so she marries him, even though in 2012 she's having her third kid with the first husband. I mean, this woman is a soap opera, if I ever saw one. I mean, a really big, giant, ugly soap opera. Okay, so this is not good. This is not good. By 2013, she's got Elmi over there in London. She decides in 2017 to divorce Elmi, and she marries Hersey in a civil ceremony. Then the marriage is brought up during Omar's campaign for Congress. It becomes a problem. She denies it, but there's no real proof to be able to deny it because, they came from a war-torn zone. In 2019, President Trump was the first one to actually bring this rumor back up and say that, I think there's some funny business going on here. In 19, you had DailyMail.com revealing Omar and Hersey had separated, but that she was moving into a penthouse apartment and that she had a secret relationship with another guy. That would be not Timmy Walls. That's Tampon Tim. No, we're talking about the other Timmy. They get a lot of Tims in Minnesota, apparently. Timmy Minett. Yeah, he left his wife, her name was Beth, to take up with Omar. I think Beth got the better side of that trade. Just saying. Okay. So Timmy is working hard, raising all this money for Ilhan Omar. He's working for her. He was on the campaign. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself because you see that bill right there? That's the bill for Feeding Our Future. It was actually introduced by Ilhan Omar on the same day that she decided to marry Mr. Timmy Minett. And Timmy, he's no fool. He has a VC business that's not really a VC business. If you look at the website, it's a consulting business because he's a political consultant who gets paid like millions of dollars from her campaign and apparently millions of dollars from other campaigns because now Ilhan Omar has skyrocketed in her wealth. It went from like 200,000 a couple years ago to, get ready for it, ladies and gentlemen, Ilhan Omar, member of Congress that doesn't make much money, at least not in the millions. What is it, 165 or something? Maybe it's 200 that they pay these guys these days. $30 million. That's what she declared her net worth with Mr. Timmy Minett. Yeah, that's what he's worth. Okay, so Tim Minett, he files for divorce from Beth, like I said. Beth got the better end of that trade. Omar formally files for divorce from Hersey, believed to be the brother. Okay. Not my words. Daily Mail and the President of the United States, all right? Yeah, but I'm just saying, usually where there's smoke, there's fire. And how do we say this? He's actually rarely been wrong. Okay, so Hersey marries some other woman. Beth and Minett get a divorce. And then Minett comes forward with a very important bill at the same time that he is marrying one Ilhan Omar. I mean, just incredible timing for these two. They come through with H.R. 6187, and that would be the bill that then led to the billions of dollars worth of fraud in the state of Arizona. Ms. Omar, for herself, introducing that one because they wanted to allow for the Secretary of Agriculture to grant certain waivers that would then enable all this food to go to kids during COVID-19, only, of course, it didn't go to kids. No. It went to, ladies and gentlemen, it went to, who did it go to? Oh, the people in Minnesota, the Somalian community that wanted to profit off of all of this. Real great, right? That's who it went to. Making millionaires out of so many. And now the big question is, where else did it go to? Did this actually go overseas? We're going to have more on that in a second because the Treasury Department's looking into it. But I would just say, look, okay, so this is New York Post reporting that the FBI is investigating the marriage, that they had a source as well in Minneapolis who handed over a trove of documents to the marriage. And as I pointed out earlier, what does it carry with it? 5 years in jail and a fine of $250,000. That does not seem enough to me. Does not seem enough. There's a lot of suspicion around this. It is weird that a Muslim couple would go and choose to have a Christian minister. It was a black woman out in Minnesota, and apparently she's since been asked about it, and she's like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. I don't want to talk about it. Her husband has said, leave her alone. We don't want to talk about it. But it's all very, very, very peculiar, leading everybody to wonder, really and truly, are these rumors true? I'll get back to something else that the president said, and he didn't mince words on this one either. He's like, look, I don't like her. I don't like what they did. I think we need to be really thoughtful about who's coming into this country. We need to be very specific about it, and we don't want fraudsters that are going to try and take advantage of the system. He also made the point that, look, you got to actually treat this stuff seriously because Europe has not. Europe has not bothered to really think about who's coming into these areas. I mean, you look at Sweden, for example. I would say look at the UK. There's a story I want to tell you about there because you got a teacher that just got fired because the teacher dared to say, imagine this, that England is a Christian country. And she said this to a Muslim kid. And, well, let me just tell you for a matter of fact, the Church of England and all that, it is officially a Christian country, whether you like it or not. Sorry. And you get fired for saying something like this? So President Trump out with a pretty serious warning. Listen to this. Again, coming from the Politico interview.
I think they're weak, but I also think that they want to be so politically correct. I think they don't know what to do. Europe doesn't know what to do. They don't know what to do on trade either. I mean, I look at A lot of the trade, situation that's going on over there, it's a little bit dangerous. But Europe, they want to be politically correct, and it makes them weak. That's what makes them weak.
It sounds like you want to see some pretty massive changes.
Well, I think they should get the people out that came into the country illegally.
I want to ask about NATO.
If you take a look at Sweden, so Sweden was known as the safest country in Europe, one of the safest countries in the world. Now it's known as a very unsafe, pretty unsafe country. It's not even believable.
Especially for women.
Country, Sweden.
Especially for women. He's not wrong. I mean, just look at the stats. I've done a lot of reporting on this in the past. You go around Europe right now. In Germany, for example, there are places where, for example, they have a history and a culture of swimming together, men and women. Oh, imagine that. And they have that, I'm going to call them YMCAs, but it's like the German equivalent, right, of the pools that the community uses. And in some cases, they've had to actually segregate the men and women from swimming with each other. The Germans can no longer go with their families to swim together because, you see, they have a little problem with the cultural differences and one culture looking at the other culture, and they see a woman dressed in a swimsuit and they think she's fair game. So just imagine the problems that have ensued there. So when he says that, Sweden's not as safe as it once was, he's not kidding. Sweden is not as safe as it once was. And it's a huge political issue, by the way, in Sweden. It's a huge political issue in the UK, for goodness sakes. And it will soon become a huge political issue throughout the rest of Europe. It is turning really, I think, into an incredible problem for them. Let me show you this story. Primary school teacher is banned after telling Muslim child that Britain is a Christian country. So there was a London primary school teacher, this story just breaking within the last 24 hours, who was allegedly banned for working with children after telling a Muslim student that Britain is still a Christian state, which again, like Church of England, hate to break it to you, it is. Great Britain is. England certainly is. It's different in Scotland, right? But hey, according to the child who made the complaint, there was an Islamic school just a mile away that the teacher said, you can go and attend that school if you would like instead. The educator was subsequently suspended and then sacked in March of last year, according to the Telegraph, who first ran the headline. A month later, you had the police actually looking into this and referring to a local safeguarding board the entire issue, because allegedly the safeguarding police officer concluded that the teacher had made hurtful comments about Islam and that the child had been subjected to emotional harm because this child was told, hey, you know what, this is still a Christian country. The police inquiry has since been dropped, but the teachers apparently suing the local authorities with the backing of the Free Speech Union. I'll just say, look, when you start adding 2 and 2 together, I don't know how you get anything other than 4. And when I remember seeing this one with Timmy Waltz deciding to switch his flag out in Minnesota, you can't tell me that there's not some political influence behind the scenes affecting all this, because have you seen the Somalian flag? Take a good look at the new one in Minnesota and tell me if you don't see some similarities. Watch.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute.
Okay, so that's the old one. Dun-ta-da, you ready? Because this one actually does look a whole lot like Somalia. Somalia's has the blue coloring, that light blue, and it also has a star. And he's like, whoa, okay, now I can start.
There, that's better.
Yeah, that's better. Maybe, maybe not. I think a lot of people would argue that you're kind of a sellout, buddy, and that's a concern. Certainly a concern. Look, Miller said this the other night. Did you see Miller? He was on Hannity, and he was like, listen, we need to be really thoughtful about what we're doing, because our future is truly at stake. I want to play this soundbite for you.
I believe that the Somali fraud operation in Minnesota is the single greatest theft of taxpayer dollars through welfare fraud in American history. We believe that we have only scratched the very top of the surface of how deep this goes. And you're familiar with all the scams, with pretending that children have autism who are not in fact autistic, with pretending to enroll people in food programs when in fact nobody was ever enrolled, and engaging in massive fraud, lying, and theft and grift on a scale we've never seen before in American history. The total bill, the total tab for this is going to be far beyond the numbers we've already seen reported. We believe the state government is fully complicit in this scheme. And we believe that what we are going to uncover is going to shock the American people. Look, based on the records that we already have, and this is a significant undercount, by the way, 75% of the Somali population in Minnesota is on welfare. But that's likely a significant undercount of just how much of a financial burden the Somali refugee population is imposing on this country.
Whoa. Okay, so he was going there. He was going there, but heck, look at the model. You got Donald Trump totally going there. Big time.
The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. Our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great.
Yeah, now he goes on to say these are people that want to come here and complain and complain and complain and really do nothing to contribute. She in turn says, well, you sound a lot like somebody else in history from the World War II era. My gosh, this is the well that they always go to, right? Why not just stand up on your own 2 feet? Do you have to go here, Ilhan? Yes, she does, with the help of a CBS reporter, nonetheless.
I want to ask you about something else that the architect of the president's immigration policy, Stephen Miller, said. On Thanksgiving Day, he posted, "No magic transformation occurs when failed states cross borders. At scale, migrants and their descendants recreate the conditions and terrors of their broken homelands." What do you make of this argument of failure to assimilate and sort of ruining America? How do you understand this?
When I think about Stephen Miller and his white supremacist rhetoric, it reminds me of the way that...
You see how the reporter's trying to complete her sentences for her? Yeah, she didn't offer the same help, shall we say, to one Scott Bessent. No, but he ate her lunch. He ate her for lunch. It was quick and over and done with. And, well, Scott Bessent has a habit of doing that. Anyway, let's continue.
Nazis described Jewish people in Germany. And, as we know, there have been many immigrants who have tried to come to the United States who've turned back, one of them being Jewish immigrants. We know the way that people were described who were coming from Ireland, Irish immigrants. We know the way in which people were described back then when they were Italian immigrants. And to me, we're yes, of course, ethnically Somali. We are in this country as Americans. Yeah. We are citizens. We are productive part of this nation, and we will continue to be.
Okay, so she's pretty desperate.
Omar,
she's going back to the well.
Thank you for your time today.
And she's saying some pretty horrible stuff. And let me just add for the record, Stephen Miller's Jewish, okay? So, when you start going into the World War II stuff, I'm sorry, Ilhan, you're just over your skis. Over your skis. This is just disgusting. This scandal keeps growing and growing and growing and growing, and it's not going away. And I have a feeling all roads are going to lead back to her, okay? It's her district. She knew what she was getting into. She had the guy that was hosting her dinner for her big night when she won. It's at his restaurant. He's making the millions of dollars. Don't forget the new boyfriend turned husband, Timmy, who leaves Beth, the other Timmy, the new husband, Timmy, right? He divorces his wife because he's got a thing going with Ilhan. None of us like thinking about that. That's even worse than the brother, I think. Anyway, so he leaves his wife. He takes up with Ilhan, and then they come forward with this new bill where they get hundreds of millions of dollars. I just gotta say that must have been one expensive wedding that you had to pay off, right? Alleged. Not the wedding. That one she actually did go through with Timmy, the new hubby, who's worth now $30 million, miraculously. Huh. Okay, sorry. Ilhan, we may not be from Somalia, but we were not born yesterday, okay? Quick ad for you. I want to tell you about my friends at Americans for Prosperity. Amazing job they did to get Trump's tax bill passed. Woo, right? Like we dodged a bullet on that. Thank goodness that happened. And they had a big hand in it. And while that bill may be the law of the land, you know what? They're not resting. They're never resting over there at AFP. You know, Ken Strang, I think, is going to be on the show next week with us. We're going to talk a little bit about healthcare. They are now pulling out all the stops, if you would, to get Congress to pass a permitting reform bill with bipartisan support that would speed up all sorts of energy and mining projects. Yeah, because you know what? Unlocking natural resources is kind of important to building America's future. You want to have them here, right here at home, creating good paying jobs, making energy more affordable. Energy is key, by the way. We get gas prices under $3 a barrel. Pretty good. Anyway, what I'm telling you about AFP is real. They are fighting for more economic freedom, and we need that. So they're pretty relentless. I'm relentless too, so I'm happy to partner with them and to have them as one of the great sponsors on the Trish Regan Show. I'll tell you, prosperity is possible. You can join this grassroots effort. Join me, join AFP, prosperityispossible.com. Meanwhile, from prosperity to, being prosperous for yourself, I'm talking about taking care of yourself. And when you take care of yourself, you're eating well, you're drinking lots and lots and lots of water, you're getting some exercise, and maybe you're taking balance in nature as well, because that's what I do. I gotta say, like, I like all the whole food ingredients, because collectively, if you take the fruits and veggies like I do, you get 31 of them, 31 different kinds of fruits and veggies. But they also have something called the whole health system, and the supplements are really versatile. So you can, for example, use the fiber spice supplement, which mixes easily into drinks. You can do that, which kind of adds a warm and lovely spice blend to your drink. You can also open your fruits and veggie supplement and mix in the powder into a smoothie or sprinkle it over your food just to make sure you're getting all that good stuff, because they do have lots of good ingredients. The Balance of Nature Whole Health System supplements feature ingredients like flaxseed, cinnamon, turmeric, mango, pineapple, blueberries, shiitake mushrooms, spinach, kale, and more. I'd never eat that much or that variety of things in any given day. So the Whole Health System, which is something else, that includes 47 ingredients of 100% real whole fruits, vegetables, spices, and fibers. It's perfect for your daily routine. You can get 50% off. I think this says 30%. So, it's Christmas. We're doing something different. How do you like that? 50% off, ladies and gentlemen, at balanceofnature.com for the Whole Health System. You can get it for life. So it's a limited time offer. I want you to go to balanceofnature.com, use my name, Trish, to claim this offer. You can lock in the Whole Health System at $79.99 per your order for life. So if you cancel in the future, I guess you lose that pricing, but it's a pretty good deal right here and right now. So worth taking a look at. You know what else we got to look at besides Ilhan Omar? I'll tell you, the Democrats are desperate. It's not just Ilhan Omar that's desperate, right? But the Democrat Party in general. But I mean, hey, what do you expect? If you're running Jasmine Crockett, we know you're really desperate. We know. We get it. Mark Kelly, ladies and gentlemen, he's getting desperate and he's getting nervous because he may be court-martialed as early as this week. Here he is on the Ms. Network. I like saying that. Ms. Now Network. I guess they go by MS. It's the old MSNBC. They're getting ready for their big spinoff. Nobody wants them. Just like nobody other than Paramount, miraculously, and David Ellison wants CNN. We have more on that deal coming up. But anyway, we get back to Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly at this moment is getting super, super duper nervous because he's about to be court-martialed. He knows that these are the reports that are out there. He's being asked about it here on Ms. Now. And let's see what he says.
I've been in combat. I've sunk 2 ships myself.
Ooh, I'm Mr. Tough Guy.
I've got a lot of questions about how this operation is being conducted.
Senator, I'm wondering if, back to your potential court-martialing that is scheduled for this week, is there any conversation amongst you and the other lawmakers who participated in this video about suing the administration back? We had Eric Swalwell on last week.
We're going to sue him back.
Action against Bill Pulte and the Federal Housing Finance Agency, and is suing them on the basis of violation of the Privacy Act and First Amendment rights. Is this something that's under discussion when you say that the administration wants to silence you and you're not going to be silenced?
Well, there clearly in violation of my First Amendment rights. I said something, that was lawful. It was pretty simple. It was a message that I felt members of the military at this time, when you consider who this president is and who the Secretary of Defense is, they needed to hear, this pretty basic message. And there wasn't anything wrong with it. I didn't expect this response from the president.
Really?
But he's trying to silence me, but he's not silencing me. I'm still speaking out. I still am going to do my job every single day, regardless of whether this president wants to kill me, hang me, execute me, or shut me up. I'm not going to shut up. Litigation, coming from me, it's not like in my nature, to do that. I'm going to respond. I've got, a legal team that will respond to whether it's DOD or DOJ forcefully, because they're in the wrong here. And I think people know it. And it's kind of a ridiculous proposition that because of something I said, they want to either kill me or now prosecute me under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, because, I think a lot of people think you actually shouldn't have said what you said because there's certain rules, dare I say. This is from the Department of War. They put this out on X the other day, saying that they were investigating him in accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice 10 U.S.C. 688 and other applicable regulations. They said a thorough review of these allegations has been initiated to determine further actions, which may include recall to active duty for court-martial proceedings. That's expected again to happen this week, or administrative measures. This matter will be handled in compliance, they said, with military law. Okay, so this is not like a normal arrest. This is a military arrest, ensuring that he gets due process and impartiality. Further official comments will be limited to preserve the integrity of the proceedings. The Department of War reminds all individuals that military retirees, listen to this one, remain subject to the UCMJ for applicable offenses, and federal laws such as 18 U.S.C. 2387 prohibit actions intended to interfere with the loyalty, the morale, or good order and discipline of the armed forces. Any violations will be addressed through appropriate legal channels. So it kind of sounds like they got some there to go on. All service members are reminded that they have a legal obligation under UCMJ to obey lawful orders, and the orders are presumed to be lawful. A service member's personal philosophy does not justify or excuse the disobedience of an otherwise lawful order. So you remember what they did. We're not going to watch much of it, but I just want to jog your memory.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason
Woo! Okay, so there's 6 of them. And they were nicknamed the Seditious Six because they're coming forward before they had any evidence of anything illegal going on, okay? And then in terms of the second strike thing that they try and make something out of nothing with, it turns out that there was reason to have a second strike because Admiral Bradley, who had JAG lawyers in the room with him, made the decision that there was still an ongoing threat. But that doesn't change that Mark Kelly and, the Maggie lady from New Hampshire, who's interestingly married to Jake Sullivan, who used to run the NSC. Woohoo! Okay, so we get a lot of intel people, and then Alyssa Slotkin. Wow. Okay, so they're all out there crusading, saying we need to do something. If you are a member of the military and you don't agree with something, you think it's not lawful, then you need to not follow orders. Well, then they flooded the airwaves right after coming out with that tape saying, anything can be unlawful. Like, what about the National Guard going into D.C.? That's unlawful. Except that, of course, the mayor welcomed it. The murder rate has gone down. The crime rate has gone down. People seem pretty happy. But, hey, I guess if somebody's going to sue, then therefore it's unlawful. It was unlawful to go into California. Well, guess what? The Ninth Circuit Court, what did they decide? It was lawful. So you understand how this is kind of a murky area, and you don't necessarily want to have some kind of mutiny, right, amongst the troops, do you? Unless you want a good old-fashioned coup, and that's what this has sounded like to me. Anyway, here's Mr. Kelly on CNN, which may soon be part of Paramount. More on that coming up.
So first of all, they confirmed the double tap strike today, the White House, even though 2 days ago Sean Parnell at the Pentagon was saying the entire story was fabricated, made up out of whole cloth, he said. It seems as though they are saying that Hegseth gave the order to kill everyone on board, a lethal strike, and that Admiral Frank Mitch Bradley was in charge. He's a head of special forces, and that he is the one that gave the order for the second strike, the double tap on the whatever survivors there were. Who is ultimately responsible if there is something wrong with the double tap strike, with the second strike?
Well, Jake, I think it's going to be really important for my committee, the Armed Services Committee that I sit on, the same thing in the House, to get these people in the room and get testimony from them under oath, maybe part of it in a SCIF and in a secure facility and part of it publicly, to get what the exact real story is. I think this is what happens when you put an incompetent individual in perhaps the second most important job in our country. Secretary of Defense.
He's going after
Pete
Hegseth
Hegseth
again.
had no business being
Pete Hegseth.
nominated.
You know, they all hate Pete Hegseth. They just cannot stop. They are like sharks in the water, circling, hoping to take down Pete Hegseth. Well, you take down Pete Hegseth, you're effectively taking down the President of the United States, because the President has chosen Pete Hegseth to be in that position. But they will not stop, despite the fact that, what do you know? Poor ABC had to report this.
Tonight, new information. According to a source familiar with the incident, the two survivors climbed back onto the boat after the initial strike. They were believed to be potentially in communication with others and salvaging some of the drugs. Because of that, it was determined they were still in the fight and valid targets. A JAG officer was also giving legal advice.
Yeah.
This backs up.
That's funny. Jesse saw that one. I had a little bit of fun with that. I'm going to have some fun with it too, because, by the way, that's exactly what has been said. Went down. And now ABC forced to having to report that. You know that Mark Kelly now may be called in, court-martialed, which is effectively a military kind of punishment, and he could face dishonorable discharge, he could face loss of rank or pay, he could face military prison, hard labor, confinements to base, forfeiture of benefits, all kinds of things. And I will say that, this is not really happening in a vacuum. Again, you know what the Admiral is going to testify, you know what's coming. But I got to go back to what the heck is like Senator Mark Warner out of Virginia saying stuff like this. This is crapola. I don't use that word a lot, but it's total crapola. It seems to me like they're starting to sort of get the embers together for a coup. And it's bonkers, all right? This is really wild, because in all of our history, we're coming up on 250 years. Rah, rah, happy birthday, America. And look at what these idiots are trying to do, all because why? You hate Donald Trump that much? You hate Pete Hegseth that much? You don't want us going after drugs that are illicitly coming into the country? I mean, illicit substances like that are going to kill Americans? I'm sorry. This is getting weird. Listen to him.
Unprecedented disrespect when they were all brought to get a pep rally in front of Hegseth and Trump. This is an administration that's fired, uniform generals from the head of the NSA, the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Mm-hmm. And I think in many ways, the uniformed military may help save us from this president and his lame people like Hegseth, because I think their commitment is to the Constitution and obviously not to Trump, and I expect Bradley to adhere to that.
So, Senator, let's go a little further on this. What are concerns you have about the legality of these strikes at all?
All right, that sounds like a coup attempt to me. I'm just going to say it. I'm reading some of your comments here in real time. It's good to see you, Don Baca. It's good to see you, Peace of My Mind. I see some of the comments on Minneapolis earlier. Yes, that was the site of all the Black Lives Matter stuff. Kind of makes you wonder. Anyway, speaking of all that, kind of makes you wonder, all the Black Lives Matter stuff, they're riding that thing as far as they can, including putting Jasmine Crockett in for Senate. Wow, we wish them well. You know what? I'll take that one all day long, because that's an opponent, if you're Ted Cruz, that you're going to love to welcome. Seriously love to welcome, because Jasmine Crockett stands for one thing and one thing only, and that would be Jasmine. Okay, more coming up on that. But first, just a quick shout out for our friends over at forfreemarkets.org. Under previous administrations, as you know, vague, outdated policies and pressure from politically motivated regulators led to the closure of Americans' bank accounts. I hope you know that. I mean, Eric Trump was on the show the other day saying he had 200 accounts closed. I mean, pretty terrifying stuff. Thankfully, President Trump is in the White House. He's taking decisive action. His recent executive order is designed to stop politically motivated debanking and to ensure absolutely ensure fair access to banking for Americans nationwide. And this is so important because you cannot have regulators controlling the scenes. You need the opportunity for every American to be able to get a bank account regardless of their political party. That's what Americans for Free Markets stands for. That's what I stand for. I am thrilled to stand with them in this effort, both to thank the president for his efforts in terms of the commitment to preventing government-driven debanking and urging Congress and regulators to build on this momentum by enacting lasting, meaningful reform. We need Congress out there working with the administration to fix outdated laws, to increase transparency, to increase accountability in financial regulation so that future administrations can never, I repeat, never weaponize the financial system again. We need to establish some kind of national standard, right? You cannot have financial institutions saying, we don't like your politics. We don't like the fact that you voted for Trump, or you're a Republican, or we don't like your show very much. And then saying you can't get a bank account because regulators have made this decision. I'll tell you, Americans for Free Markets is calling on Congress right now to advance critical reforms to strengthen the president's leadership on fair access to financial services. You can learn more about it. You can join them in this protection effort. Just go to forfreemarkets.org. We are thrilled to have their support. Parts of the show are brought to you by Americans for Free Markets. Good group. Unlike the group I'm about to tell you about, or the single politician I'm about to tell you about. Jasmine Crockett, ladies and gentlemen, is running for Senate in Texas. Yes, she declared her candidacy, and CNN is all over it. They just love it. Look at the big title they have. That's actually their graphic, not mine. I don't want you to think I would use a bad picture of her or anything, you know. That's CNN who did that. Is there a good picture? I don't know. Anyway, Jasmine went on to CNN just last night and effectively tanked her entire campaign. I mean, this moronic woman, and I repeat, moronic, not very bright, okay? Because if you can do math, you're going to understand that you need a different pathway. I mean, by the way, you just lost your seat in Congress because, well, they redistricted you out of your seat. Sorry, Jazzy. But if you had, any kind of real math background, I'd say that you ought to have figured this one out. You're going to need more than your super libs.
How you make voters who previously voted for Trump, particularly given that you have been an outspoken critic and he has inserted himself, just take your campaign video as is. He has inserted himself at every turn when it comes to your commentary. How will you convert those who are supportive of him to voters for you?
Yeah, I don't know that we'll necessarily convert all of Trump supporters. That's not our goal.
Do you need to?
Our goal is to definitely talk to people. No, we don't. We don't need to.
Our
goal is to make sure that we can engage people that historically have not been talked to, because there's so many people that get ignored, specifically in the state of Texas. Listen, the state of Texas is 61% people of color. We have a lot of good folk that we can talk to.
And by the way, they don't like you very much, Jasmine. I mean, they really don't. I mean, right across the board. They do not like you. Look at all the Latinos that voted for Trump, but that's not going to, she doesn't get it. Like, she just doesn't get it. She thinks she can be anti-Trump, frankly, American, and that's going to fly. Oh, well, by the way, talking about reparations, for goodness sakes, yeah, that's part of her platform too. Here we go.
We know that when Beto came really close, Beto, who is a progressive, we know that he got 65% of the Latino vote. So what did they do after that? They specifically went after Latinos. We know that he got close to 90%, or right there at 90% of the African-American vote. So honestly, what we need to do is start talking to the vast majority of Texas. I think my message is very much a mainstream message. I don't know who disagrees with the fact that affordability is a real thing, except for the president, who says it's a Democratic hoax. But when somebody goes to the grocery store nowadays, whether it's in East Texas or whether it's right here in Dallas, Texas, or whether it's in Austin or West Texas, let me tell you, they are looking at those grocery prices and they are thinking we deserve better. Knowing that we do the amount of trade that we do in the state of Texas. Yeah.
I'm just curious. By the way, where'd she get, is that new hair? It's like very full all of a sudden. Jazzy. Working the hairdo. Okay. And probably the lashes too, right? Anyway, that's the famous exchange with MTG, who she may actually get on her side right now because stranger things have happened. CNN is debating her chances here. Not even CNN is fully convinced that she's going to get there. Like, you need to be able to break ground in the middle. And if you're just going to be anti-Trump, 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 then how are you going to get elected to anything? I mean, it's just not going to work.
target in the general.
So on that notion, first of all, let's just sort of set the table of this particular part of this discussion with the Texas results for U.S. Senate just in the past few elections. If you look up on the screen, there you go. The last time around, Ted Cruz beat Colin Allred, who dropped out, who was on this program yesterday, pretty handily. 2020, John Cornyn, the Republican, also won pretty easily. 2018, that's what I want you to look at. Better or
That's going back a ways. Okay, CNN, you're going back a ways with Beto O'Rourke. I mean, he's like got every box checked, right? He's Spanish, he's got Irish.
Democrat didn't win, but he came closer than a Democrat has come in decades. Jasmine Crockett said to Laura Coates that it's his campaign that she's going to use as a guide.
What we wanted to look for is whether or not I could expand the electorate and get people motivated to vote who normally don't participate in the process. And our numbers say that we can do that. When Beto came really close, Beto, who is a progressive, we know that he got 65% of the Latino vote. So what did they do after that? They specifically went after Latinos. We know that he got close to 90% or right there at 90% of the African American vote. So honestly, what we need to do is start talking to the vast majority of Texas.
Look, I mean, that is the only place to start if you want to win is at Beto O'Rourke's seat. And talking to strategists yesterday, they said one thing that if she would basically repeat his performance and then get young black men and really younger voters across the board, she could win.
Okay, if we have any young black men watching the show right now, are you voting for Jazzy? I don't think so. I think actually, you can repeat the Kamala playbook all day long. Who did she do really, really, really badly with? Interestingly, black men. Young black men, old black men, middle-aged black men. She didn't score there, okay? She just didn't score. I don't think that the answer is, and this is where they always miss it. It's not whether you're male or female. It's not whether you're black or white. It's not whether you're Hispanic or Caucasian. It is whether or not you resonate with the people. And I'm telling you, this is a very polarizing candidate that you got there in Jazzy Crockett, who most people, frankly, don't really respect. I don't know if she even respects herself. Just listen to the woman talk.
And one other sort of factor here is the Republicans are having a complicated and messy primary all of their own. So if John Cornyn, the longtime senator, he's struggling to take command of this race, and that has opened the door to Ken Paxton, the controversial attorney general. So that will factor in this as well. But let's just talk about the Democrats for a second. There are many Democrats who have long thought that Texas next year is going to be the one. The next cycle is going to be the one. It hasn't happened yet. The reality is it raises a question. We don't know the answer. What type of Democrat can win? Is it better to have a progressive to fire up the progressive base, or is it better to have more of a moderate? And even though Beto O'Rourke was a progressive, he was still able to appeal to some moderates as well. He was not nearly sort of out there as much. So we shall see. But there's a Democrat running as well, James Tallarico.
Okay,
who's
so
a very,
I think he just made a really
talented,
important point.
Young state lawmaker.
He made the point that part of Beto's success was that he tried to come to the middle a little bit. And let's face it, Jasmine's never going to the middle, okay? There's nothing middle about her. I was looking at a soundbite this morning. It's from a couple of years ago, so we're not going to play it today, but at some point we will, where she's basically pushing reparations. And then she's like, first of all, she said, I think like black people should have zero taxes. Zero taxes. I mean, look, and then she goes on and says, well, no, maybe that doesn't work because, a lot of them aren't paying taxes anyway. So how about this? So we just cut checks. I'm like, oh, wow. You and Ma'am Dami should hook up, right? That would be some ticket. Paramount is suddenly a player, big time player in the new media space because they're challenging Netflix right now. Paramount's making a really aggressive, hostile bid for CNN's parent company. Yeah, can you imagine? Paramount, CNN joining forces. I think it would mean a lot of CNN anchors get fired. Good thing Anderson Cooper just renewed his deal, right? Because this could be problematic, shall we say. Take a look here, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the headline in the Daily Mail, billionaire plots radical overhaul to CNN with top stars axed in stunning secret pitch to tempt Trump. Well, you might say, what's going on here? So just to back up for a second, Netflix is trying to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers Discovery really wants anybody but David Ellison, son of Larry Ellison, people that are, kind of close to Trump. They like Trump. So, we're going to stay away from those MAGA people. We don't want to be anywhere near them. And I got to say, like, David's the only one offering to pick up the scraps, including CNN. Nobody else wants it. Netflix is like, no, thank you. We'll let you spin that off. Comcast was circling for a bit. That would be the NBC parent. They were like, no, we don't want CNN. You're on your own with that one too. So nobody wants CNN or any of the cable assets that would have to be spun off, similar to what you're seeing at NBC with Versant. That's my name for it. It's actually Versant, but we try and give them a little French flair. And they're probably very Frenchy over there at MSNBC. Certainly more than they are American, despite the new red, white, and blue themed colored graphics system on their show. The Ms. Network. Anyway, you've got David in the background, Ellison, who just bought Paramount, right? That was the Skydance Paramount merger. And he's got CBS News. And he's like, okay, I can do something with this, over at CNN. We can do something with that. And he wants all the assets of the Warner Brothers and Discovery Library, because he's thinking he can really play this out. Now, I spoke with a source this morning who is familiar with him and familiar with his thinking, and I was told by this source, this guy gets it. He's young. He's got a dad, right, who comes from a tech background. He's super techie, and he believes the whole entertainment industry can actually be transformed. Look, we've seen YouTube transform it. Here I am right here with you right now. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, make a comment, all that good stuff. It really helps the algorithm. But he gets it, right? Like, he gets it, and so he really wants this. Well, one of the concerns is, could it get through antitrust? Well, he's kind of got the president on speed dial in a way that, let's face it, I don't think the Netflix execs have, and I don't think the Comcast execs have. I mean, Trump has no use for Brian Roberts over at Comcast, but he does like David Ellison. He does like Larry Ellison. And so this deal might actually have a shot of getting done. I mean, Paramount is bidding a lot of money, more money than the other guy. So when you think about Netflix and what it's offered versus what Paramount's offering, and they're offering to guarantee it, to backstop it with the Ellison family fortune. I mean, I don't know how you don't take that as a shareholder. You're like, oh, good, I don't have to worry about CNN anymore. I don't have to deal with that spinoff anymore. I'm less frightened about the antitrust environment because I think that this deal is actually going to get done. And I kind of wonder about whether or not the Netflix deal is really going to get done. And heck, darn it, he just offered a heck of a lot of money. Do you know? This is fascinating. So apparently, he called David Zaslav. David runs Warner Brothers Discovery. He called David and said, hey, David, I'm trying to reach you. He left him a voicemail. He couldn't get through. He sent him a text. He couldn't get through. So what did he do? He went on TV. He went on TV the very next day. And he said this, I'm here. I'm ready. I'm willing. I'm going to offer you more money. And by the way, this may not be my final offer. Well, that is signal to the board. Take me seriously, because by the way, if you don't, shareholders are going to sue. Watch. David Ellison.
Our offer is $30 a share, all cash, $41 billion in equity that's backstopped by the Ellison family and Redbird, $54 billion in debt with commitments from Citi, Bank of America, and Apollo. We have faster regulatory certainty to close, and our deal is pro-consumer, it's pro-creative talent, it's pro-competition. And we believe that when you actually, to further contextualize, our $30 in cash, $30 a share, is basically $17.6 billion in cash more than the $23 in share that they signed up.
Right. Well, you're not obviously paying. You're paying for global networks. Their deal doesn't involve paying for global networks, which are traded as its public company. Which, by the way, also figures very prominently here in trying to determine what the overall value of the respective deals are.
He's talking about the spinoff, okay? So he's like, well, of course you're paying more because you're going to get CNN. And David's probably like, yeah, I'm going to get CNN. Do you think anybody else wants CNN? Like, if you're a shareholder, you take that deal, right? Because otherwise it gets spun off into the indefinite future where you have no idea if anybody's going to pay anything. I mean, I'd pay zero.
Because there are $27.75, including obviously the stock portion of their deal, but it also includes, well, what's Global Networks? Is it a $2 stock? Is it a $4 stock?
I'm going with $1.25.
What do you see? Because that can go a long way in terms of at least determining why the board may have said, no, we think Netflix is superior.
So respectfully, we think that basically that's valued at $1 a share. I think if you buy
a dollar.
So
I said $1.25. I was just sort of joking around. He's valuing it $1 a share. Okay, listen, CNN, I'm sorry, it's over. Nobody wants you. Take that. You got a knight in shining armor who's willing to pay $1 a share for you. You take that all day long, right? Because otherwise you're just going to completely descend into oblivion. You know, with your high-priced anchors taking you there. I think, did I read that Anderson just did an $18 million deal? Woo! Ellison, get in there. Change things. He will.
if you look at Versant and where the median of all of this is, it's about 4.5 times. You have to get to 5 times equity value or more to basically get to the, kind of $3 plus that you're claiming. But again, I think the most important thing to go back here is, look, we're sitting on Wall Street where cash is still king. We are offering shareholders $17.6 billion more cash than the deal that they currently have signed up with Netflix. And we believe when they see
bottom line,
what is currently in our offer, that's what they'll vote for.
I think they will vote for it. I think he's absolutely right. My prediction right here, right now, you know I never lie. What did I tell you when Elon did the X deal? I thought he was paying too much for it, but once he agreed to do it, I told you the deal was going to go through. And I know a lot of you were like on Elon's side, he shouldn't be paying this much, you should be able to change this deal. And I'm like, nope, it's happening. The Delaware court is not going to turn around on this one. What I'm going to tell you right now is that shareholders are going to want this deal because it's a bird in the hand. It's far more money than they were previously getting via Comcast or via Netflix. And this is very important. He also said something interesting, which was that he might even be able to do better. So that's signaling to the board, like this guy is real and he may have more where that came from. So my prediction, CNN is going to be owned by CBS and Paramount. And CNN will get to live another day. I bet you it lives longer than if it were spun off onto its own. And the industry is going to change dramatically. What we're seeing in some of the trade reports is that Ellison is apparently, as we said, telling Trump, I'll do you a favor, I'll get rid of some of the brutes for you, okay? Don't worry. We can fire them pretty fast. And that's why we'll get the antitrust thing approved because Donald Trump is my buddy and he'll want this deal to go through. I don't know how much of that is spin also. Think about Zaslav, think about Netflix, and they're trying to basically scare people into saying, well, this can't happen. You can't have the guy that Trump wants doing this deal, no way, no how. So there's a little bit of that spin going on, and I just caution you with that. I do think that a lot of things would have to change, both at CBS and at CNN, to make those networks successful in the future. And that's going to mean that a lot of talent will lose their jobs, and I'm sure that's a really scary thing right now for all of them. They probably prefer the spinoff, but the spinoff is just gonna be slow and steady pain and descending into nothingness. You might actually have a shot with a guy who's coming in with a vision, who's very tech savvy and is actually thinking about entertainment in an entirely new different way of growing that asset in ways that would be far more profitable. How do I know this? Well, I'm a former business reporter and I've worked in media my entire career. If you want to get more of my financial insights, I encourage you to go check out my firm that I started with a very dear friend. It's very important to me that you get the right kind of information and the right kind of research when you're trying to make decisions about your future. So go check out my research at 76research.com. Go to 76research.com. Use my code word dollar, DOLLAR. It's a great Christmas gift too. And it's just $1 a month for the first 2 months. Goes to $9.95. We also have portfolios on there, model portfolios. We don't manage your money in any way, shape, or form. We just give you the tools, the research, and the sort of know-how. My friend Rob, who started this with me, is a couple decades veteran out of Wall Street. Great, great fund manager. So I encourage you to learn more there today. It is great to have you guys. Thank you for being here. Make sure you subscribe, share, like. It's really, really important. Look, we got to keep that algorithm going, right? We really do. I'm just looking at some of your comments on... yes, it's true. Peace of my mind. I am working here, and I am so thrilled to be here on my own, working for me and working for you guys. I mean, that's what really and truly this is about. And as you know, it started as a labor of love, and it's still a labor of love. I love what I do, and I love not having to be beholden to any big corporation. I only want to be here. I only want to be on my own, and I like to be in charge and say what I think and what I mean and what I want to say. So it's a beauty that we have here that I can tell you is something I feel very fortunate As we think about how we're so fortunate this Christmas season, and I get ready to go to a Christmas concert tonight. Yep, the kids are singing. I'm looking forward to that. All dressed in red. I got the Christmas tree behind you just to help get in the Christmas spirit, right? I'll be back here live again tomorrow on the Trish Regan Show. Make sure you subscribe. Go and check out my Spotify. We're there as well. And I'll see you tomorrow.